What is going on today, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Fix It Garage. It is time to get back on the Volkswagen. Now that our racing season's over, I can put a lot more time and energy into this car. Now, I have a lot of things that I would like to do to the Subaru in the off season to get it ready for autocross and a few other series that I'd like to do next year. But more on that later. Before we can work on this, we really do need to get this car out of here. As always, if you guys like watching this Volkswagen content, please don't forget to smash that like button. It helps us beat the YouTube algorithm so more people get to see my videos. Today, we're going to jump on the fuel system. We are going to start off by routing some fuel lines. We need to get our feed and we need to get our return routed. That's probably gonna be what we're gonna start with on this fuel system, and then we'll just kind of go from there. The nice thing about the fuel system is it's not as complicated as all the wiring. You have a pump, a filter, a feed, a return, and a fuel pressure regulator. Now, luckily for me, we're gonna be using the stock Subaru fuel pressure regulator that is mounted to the intake plenum. From there, we need to have a feed hose for the fuel pump that's gonna be up front to run the fuel all the way up here, send it through the fuel rails, and then send whatever isn't used in the injectors back around and back through the pump again. Recycling the fuel, returning it back through the pump. You can also do a return all the way to the fuel tank, but for simplicity, we're just gonna tee it into the feed line behind the fuel pump and just send it back through the car again, maintaining that nice consistent fuel pressure. So the first thing we need to do is we need to start routing the two fuel lines that go from the front of the car to the back of the car. Okay guys, so here we are at the back of the engine again. Here is the factory fuel feed for the carbureted Volkswagen engine. Diameter of it should be fine to supply fuel to this engine. Hopefully we'll be able to monitor that with the fuel trims and everything once we get this engine running. This should be fine though, but we're gonna change the rubber lines out for some brand new ones because these are old and crusty, and the last thing we want is a fuel line failure on this car. So this will get changed, and the one underneath the car that we'll get to later will also be changed. But this is a good starting point for the return. So the fuel lines are actually over here on this car. So we're gonna have to have the feed and the return come into here and then go to the front of the car where the tank is. The fuel lines are on the inside of the car on the driver's side. So we're probably gonna keep using that for our fuel lines and just run them right down the middle of the car, right along the tunnel for the transmission, but inside the car so they don't get hit from underneath when you're driving and poke a hole in the fuel line. That's gonna be our safest bet, and if we use new lines, they should be strong and they should last for a very long time. So the first thing we need to do is start running the return line, which we're going to start it from here, and we're gonna start working our way around, leaving extra length here, drill a hole to push it through the firewall, well, the trans wall that's down back behind the transmission, feed it through there, and then all the way through the car. And then we'll drill a hole in the other end for it to go out by the tank where we can tee it back in and make it a feed side. That's gonna be the first part of the building of the fuel system project. So let's go ahead and let's start routing our fuel return line. So that didn't go totally according to plan. As you guys can see, we started off having the fuel line over here and we routed it. Well, I needed more line to go to the front of the car so I could figure out where it was gonna go. Now that I have it all routed, I actually don't have enough fuel lines, so I'm going to have to get some more so I can lengthen it here to allow it to reach here. But the good news is, in the center of the car, the fuel line is all routed with a feed and return. We're actually ended up scrapping this original fuel line, all of it. I looked at this hard line under in the car and it's completely rusted. So that is not any good for this car. So we're gonna go ahead and we're just not gonna use it. We're gonna use fresh fuel lines. I think we're gonna order more fuel line, a fuel tank, and then we'll go back to the fuel system. I think the next thing that we probably will have to do is the radiator mounting and then ordering a lot of parts to finish this project. Let's go take a look inside real quick at the fuel lines and what we did though. So as you guys can see right here, I've got two lines running through the firewall to the front of the car. These are going to be where it goes under the front of the car to where the fuel tank is. The one on the left is going to be the feed line and the one on the right will be the return. They're going to be zip tied right up against this tunnel so it looks really nice and neat when it's all done and you won't notice it. We're going to have to trim this panel here to clear it so it doesn't cut the fuel lines sitting there where it belongs. We also removed that nice little rodent's nest for the owner. Figured it'd be nice while we're in there, we'll clean it up. I also didn't want to deal with the rodent's nest. We can follow the fuel line all along here. It goes up, over, and through on the same side that the original fuel system did. Now, I could have routed it here, but my issue with routing it on this side of this tunnel is this is where the battery would normally go, and I don't want fuel near battery. So I figured this is probably the best and safest option for us to route the fuel lines. So that's kind of how they go here. Now we'll go take a look underneath the front of the car and you guys can kind of see what we're talking about. Okay guys, so right here is where our fuel lines come through the firewall to the front of the car. And then one will travel up there to the fuel tank and the other one, which is hanging down, is our return line, which will tee back in right here behind the fuel pump. This little pocket is going to be perfect for the fuel pump, so we're going to go ahead and put the fuel pump right here. I would love to mount this fuel pump right now, but I'm missing a few pieces that I need for the fuel pump. We need some brackets. I need a size changer so I can go to a bigger hose coming out of the tank. So that way then it will fit on the fuel pump and it can push the fuel through the car. So those are just a couple changes that I need to make, but the lines are in and ready, so I can go ahead and I can get some other parts that I need to finish the fuel system. But the main lines are now run, so we're gonna call this step done for now while we wait on parts. Once those parts get here, we'll go ahead and we'll throw all of them in and I'll show you guys those parts. Well, unfortunately guys, I think that is gonna do it for today. We're out of parts for working on the fuel system and I don't wanna move on to another thing like cooling system or anything. I wanna make each video focused on one system of this car. Today we picked fuel system and unfortunately I ran out of parts. Next time, I think we're going to start making the brackets for the radiator. We're gonna start welding those up. I've got a buddy of mine coming over who's gonna bring a welder and help me do some welding, maybe even show me a little bit of what to do so I can start mounting the radiator up there in the front of the car. So that's gonna be next time. But for today, guys, I think that is going to do it. I wanna thank all of you guys for watching. As always, if you like what you saw, please don't forget to smash that like button and help my YouTube channel beat the YouTube algorithm. Leave comments down below. What do you think about how I'm routing the fuel system? Is there a better way to do it? I know you can do AN lines. We're not going that route. That's more expensive. We're not doing the more expensive options right now. This is a simple build. Builds that I do for myself in the future will probably be on the higher end builds with, you know, AN lines and all the fancy stuff. That's to come. If you guys want to keep seeing the Volkswagen project, don't forget to click that subscribe button and ding the bell so you get notified every time one of my videos goes live. Once again, thank you guys all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.